Is it more important that I go on tour and do a show in Kalamazoo, or is it more important that like I might miss my daughter's first steps? Right now, the tour that I'm going on, where I'm going to be away from my daughter for 3 weeks, and me and my wife are fully in communication about all this stuff. Like, this is a test. You know, I might do this thing, and I might call my manager or whoever, booking agent, whatever, after this and be like, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast. You can support by subscribing on YouTube or downloading on your preferred podcast platform. And definitely go do that because it helps us grow and I can have more incredible guests on the podcast. The Mike Squires and Friends podcast is proudly sponsored by DistroKid. Looking to broaden your musical horizons as an artist? Discover DistroKid. With its smooth and rewarding music distribution platform, DistroKid offers unlimited uploads while ensuring artists retain 100% of their royalties and earnings. Join the community of over 1 million artists who trust DistroKid to distribute their music across major platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, and so many others. Having personally used DistroKid since 2018, I can attest to their superiority amongst distribution services. Collaborating with fellow artists has become effortless, especially with the ability to easily send splits of songs, streamlining the creative process. With the DistroKid app, accessing these benefits is now more convenient than ever. Safely sign up or log in with two-factor authentication, upload releases on the fly, monitor earnings, and withdraw funds from your DistroKid bank. Stay updated on royalties through push notifications, effortlessly share hyperfollow links, manage account details seamlessly, and track streaming stats from Spotify and Apple. Additionally, explore Mixia for professional-grade mastering, DistroVid for music video distribution, and Instant Share for secure file sharing with collaborators, producers, and more. The DistroKid app is available on both iOS and Android. Download it today from the App Store or Google Play Store to revolutionize your music career. Visit distrokid.com/VIP/Mike Squires to get 30% off your first year membership. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Mike Squires and Friends. Today, I am joined by a good friend of mine, a returning guest who I'm very thankful to have back on. Wax, welcome to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast.
Welcome back would be a better way of putting it.
Welcome back, dude.
Yeah. Repeat guest, huh?
I'm really excited to see you today because you being here, one, I just love seeing you, right? But you being here is also kind of like a representation of the podcast to show like, oh, I really did this thing for like a year. You know what I mean? And like to have you back on and just basically around the same time we shot the one last year. I don't know, it's just like a moment for me where I'm like, oh, I'm feeling accomplished right now because it's like I said I was going to do something, I did it, and here we are again.
You know what? It doesn't surprise me because knowing you, you are like the person I would bet on. If somebody was like, if you told me you wanted to do something, I would bet, and somebody was like, he's not going to do it. I'd be like, I'll bet you any amount of money that he will. Like that 50 states project you're doing, if somebody's like, there's no way he's going to do all 50, how's he going to get somebody from Wisconsin or whatever somebody would say, I'd be like, I will take my entire life savings, which is nothing. But if I did have a hypothetical large amount of life savings, I would bet it all on you. You know?
I appreciate that.
You're a guy that gets the job done.
Dude,
you know?
And it's crazy because, life has changed a lot since, like, the first podcast. I know for you specifically,
Oof.
You have a daughter now, dude. We
do.
talked about this before and, like, the fears of, becoming a parent, and now you've been a parent. So how are you feeling now that your daughter's here?
Yeah, I guess if it was a year ago, so my daughter's 9 months old, and it's obviously pregnancy is 9 months, so my wife must have been like 6 months pregnant or something when we first did this. And having a kid changes your life really, really drastically. It's a very difficult job, a challenging job, and a relentless job because there's no, oh, well, they don't exist now. You can't, there's no taking a break because that person always exists, you know what I'm saying? And you're always got to keep them alive and whatnot. And, recently I've really been, just being a stay-at-home dad. You know what I mean? Like, I made a vow that for the first year of her life, I wouldn't do a lot of touring and stuff like that. I'm actually breaking that vow a little bit because I'm starting to tour now. I actually kind of just started a tour with you last night. I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks. And I already, after 2 days, I'm like, am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to handle the heart-wrenching despair of not being around my daughter? A funny thing, and I would say this if my wife was here, a funny thing about having a kid is like, especially if I love the shit out of my wife, but like I could be away from her for 2 weeks with no problem. You know what I mean? Like, and she could be away from me with 2 weeks with no problem. If anything, in a relationship that's just two people, they say absence makes the heart grow fonder, and it's good to miss somebody. You know what I mean? But, you know, when I see my wife in 2 or 3 weeks from now, she's not going to have like a new skill. You know what I'm saying? Like I might miss my daughter's first steps on this tour. You know what I'm saying? My wife's not going to all of a sudden be like, "Hey, I can juggle." You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. You know, she's not going to like we'll be fine. But like my daughter, I want her to see me every day. I want her to like know me every day, you know, and
you don't want to miss those moments.
Yeah, I don't. And musicians do miss those moments, you know? So every day is just, I don't know. Oh man, it's even just talking about it now, I can feel that she's not here, you know?
Yeah, I want to like kind of bring it back a little bit to the last episode too, because I mean, I know you were feeling a lot of fear going into becoming a dad. At what point did that fear like dissipate?
That's right, I was like that.
You were really scared, dude. Like I rewatched the episode preparing for this, and I was just like, I'm very interested on like how you were feeling then versus now, so we could kind of like look at like, you know, just where you're at.
I mean, every once in a while, and I've had this even in life before I had a kid. You ever have just like really fucked up thoughts, like just passing thoughts of like, you know, what if my brother got in a car accident and died today? Like you just have these weird passing thoughts about potential tragedies or something like that.
Yeah, intrusive thoughts, dude.
Intrusive thoughts. So I've always had that, and now I have it about her. But the truth is, the everyday relentlessness of parenthood takes the place of fear, you know, because there's not really time to sit around and ponder and pontificate, or that's pontificate's the wrong word. I always use the word pontificate incorrectly, but you know, I don't have time to be scared. You just have to do it. You know, every second you're doing something. And the truth is, like, besides, like, you know, if she's riding in a car, we could get in a car accident. You know what I'm saying? I suppose something could happen. She could fall down and break her head. Or I don't know. But the day-to-day life of parenthood of a infant, you know, like, it's not hard. It's just you don't have time to do anything else. It's not like hard in the way that like getting a doctorate in physics or something is hard. You know what I'm saying? Like a 14-year-old person could babysit and do all the same tasks. You know what I'm saying? But it's just forever, all the time, relentless, sleepless. Like she's always wakes up in the middle of the night. You know, and she always requires care. You know, and yeah, I don't remember what question I was answering, but the fear is that there's not. Yeah, it went away. You don't have
time for fear.
It went away. You're right, man. It went away. It went away. And the challenge besides what I just described, the main challenge for me is I've actually been putting my foot on the gas in my career zone of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, been making more content, been gaining some followers. Now I got a manager for the first time in a long time, and when I'm chilling watching my daughter and it's just like me and her and I'm taking care of her, I often am like, oh shit, I should be doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm having to time manage my work versus my parenthood is the most challenging part. And you know, we're working on it. We're getting some more daycare and stuff like that. So it's gonna work out. But it's fun, challenging, and it's a new level of like love and appreciation for life. You know what I mean? It's really crazy how different I am today than I was like 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
It is crazy.
Night and day, dude.
It's crazy too. Like, we could talk on that too, because even as I was going, because, you know, since I started this podcast and now I kind of have like a new formula of like how I do my research for episodes too. And like, you know, I'm going on your YouTube and I'm seeing videos that you posted like 17 years ago, dude. Yeah. Like, and it's just crazy. I'm trying to think of like that first video. It was like a freestyle or something in a closet. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Did I have like a faux hawk?
Faux hawk? I think you might have.
Yeah, I might have had hair.
I think your hair was definitely different, you know? But like, you know, in the early days, like, what's inspiring you to like just put these videos up?
You know, it's funny, like you said, 17 years ago. So at that time, it was almost like it was like a new thing. Like YouTube had just came out like that year.
Yeah,
you know
it was the Wax spits fury again.
Yeah. what was inspiring me? I can tell you this. I really wanted, I mean, I've always been into music since even way, way, way before that, into playing guitar, writing songs, rapping, and all that stuff. And I always dreamed that it would be my life job, like my job, you know?
Yeah.
And I know for a fact at that time when I did that video, I was doing construction in San Diego, and I was kind of like low key working on trying to get my music and stuff out there, you know what I'm saying? And I saw that this putting videos on the internet of yourself rapping would be a good way to do it, you know what I mean? And it's hard to explain, but at that time, like doing something like that as a rapper would have been considered really like nerdy, you know what I'm saying? It was like, it wasn't like a path that people would normally take. Now it's like that's all. Of course, that's what you do. You put videos up and people watch it, and you put your music up or whatever. But at that time, it was just kind of like geeky to put videos of yourself rapping on the internet.
Yeah, you were really ahead of the curve though in a lot of senses, dude. Because, I mean, 17 years ago, right now the floodgates are open. Everyone's doing it. Right. You know, back then, like, not many people were doing it, so it's like you had a better moment and like better opportunity to like potentially shine through. In
the early days of YouTube, me and my brother's YouTube channel was always in the top 100 musician channels, you know, and that's because they're like Eminem and Rihanna and Beyonce. They didn't have a channel. They were like YouTube. What's that? That's for fucking people that do cat videos and shit like that or whatever. But so us being early on the curve, I think made it so that there was less competition. So at that time, we started to do pretty well, and eventually, like, you know, I moved to LA and put up more and more videos, and I ended up getting a record deal and put out 1 million like mixtapes and videos and all this shit, like, and I was doing better then than I am now, you know what I'm saying? Like back then, like I'd play at this venue, now I play at this venue, you know what I'm saying? But I went through some personal growth, you know, like if you listen to the music, you can kind of hear in the music that, like, you know, I had a really bad drinking issues, you know, and it slowed down my productivity in a sense and slowed down my ambition and drive and just kind of like slowed down my will in general. And I think I had to get my life fixed before I could care about getting my career fixed, you know what I'm saying? So, but anyway you look at it, I haven't had a real job since 2009. So that's 15 years. I mean, if you were doing 15 years in a government job or something like that, you'd be like, damn, yeah, it's a pretty long career, you know? So even though it feels like, especially now, doing this shit, it always feels like I'm starting over from scratch, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially now with like putting these short videos on Instagram and like God knows fucking who is commenting like, who's this guy? It's like, I've done 1 million songs, but my point is you always feel like you're starting from scratch, you know what I'm saying? And, to me, the only thing that gets me by in it is just thinking it's all silly and funny and I still love it, man. I still love making music. I love making songs, dude. I love it.
And I love how you've been able to adapt, dude, because I just like, you know, as I'm scrolling through everything, I just see, you know, especially now with like the short form game, dude, like your short form content is sick. You're kind of doing your own thing too, where it's like, you know, some of the videos you post, it doesn't feel cookie cutter to like what I see everybody else doing. For example, that video that you had do really well for you where it's like, it had like the distorted face effect on, dude. But it's like, you know, that one video, kind of a game changer, dude. And like, just show you what is possible.
Shout out to my man Quinn Murdy, who shoots all my videos, and he's in San Diego. And when we met, he kind of like made me step my game up. So it's really all him that has made me kind of like double my Instagram following in the past couple months and whatnot. But it's funny because that video you're talking about, it's like, I don't really know exactly why it caught the algorithm wave or whatever, but in one sense, I'm like, awesome, that's doing really well. I got some new fans or at least fair weather fans that follow me for 1 second on the fucking Instagram. You know, and they might not ever buy a ticket to my show or listen to anything else but that 1 minute clip. But at the same time, like, you can hear even when I said that, I have a disdain for the whole system. I don't really enjoy the modern system. I'm trying to make it work for me, and the way that I make it work is, okay, here's like what's done now. You make these short clips. How can I just like make that fun and creative and exciting? You know what I'm saying? Like, rather than complaining about it like most of my friends do and not doing anything, I'm just gonna try to make it my own. You know what I'm saying? But I think the way the algorithm, like is it watching fucking, by the way, controls everything, to me is annoying and lame. And it always makes me wonder, like, is the algorithm adjusting to you, or is the algorithm adjusting you? You know what I'm saying? Like, when I go to YouTube and it always shows me the same kind of videos, I'm like, you think that this is all I am? You think all I want to watch is this shit? Show me some. I want an algorithm that shows me shit that I've never fucking heard of before. I want to learn new things. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to watch the same stuff all the time. All I'm gonna watch is like skateboarding and dumb comedy. Like, show me something about, like, show me a documentary about Neptune. You know what I'm saying? Show me like an interview of a guy that fought in the fucking war in I don't know, anything. Give me some new shit.
I've been getting
it's not like the algorithm is not catering itself to what we like. It's limiting what we educate ourselves about, you know? I drank a good amount of coffee today.
I'm working on mine now, dude. But what does Wax's algorithm look like?
My algorithm, okay, so check this out. For example, I think like right around the time when YouTube really started its new algorithm, which, by the way, whatever it does, it gives musicians way less views. I can tell you that. And I'm not saying that because I'm salty about my own views. I made a lot of mistakes in general. I didn't put out good content for a while. Whatever. I'm not talking about me. You can check out the Sugar Shack sessions if you want an example. They used to get millions and millions of hits. They never stopped putting out good content, and now they only get a couple thousand, whatever. Tons of musicians are like that, you know? Whereas, like, you know, certain other types of content gets a lot. Anyway, right around the time, I think, when YouTube changed their algorithm, I was on a Norm Macdonald kick. I love Norm Macdonald, you know what I'm saying? So I would watch a bunch of Norm Macdonald videos, but, like, ever since then, all it shows me is anything that's, it's like, anything that's even like Joe Rogan comedian kind of world, you know what I'm saying? Like, it always shows me this shit. And now it's like not even Norm Macdonald. It's like somebody doing a podcast that's talking about Norm Macdonald. Now it's like somebody that's talking about the podcast that talked about Norm Macdonald. And like I'm watching this shit, it's like and in my head I'm like YouTube has a video about every single fucking topic of all time. Why am I watching a guy talking about a guy that's talking about Norm Macdonald? Why am I watching this right now? And I'm like, do I even have fucking free, like, but then you go to the search bar and it's like the search bar in YouTube is so intimidating. Like, if you just want to entertain yourself, you're like, okay, I can just search like anything of all time I can look for. That's why they cater to you in this way. You know what I'm saying?
Dude.
So that my YouTube algorithm has a lot of that type of shit on there, a lot of like weird podcast shit. And then my Instagram algorithm is a lot of skateboarding, and some, like, you know what it's showing me now, because you know, there's a genre of Instagram. It's essentially like dudes jumping off of crazy shit, like really tall,
like parkour, but like
parkour, but also parkour that involves like cliff diving,
insane,
and parkour type shit, and skateboarding is like all it shows me. And in my head, I'm like, I love skateboarding, and Instagram actually is the perfect platform for skateboarding, so I get it. But all of it too just makes me like waste my life looking at my phone. I'm especially since I've been getting better at Instagram and getting more, like, looking at it more, it's making my addiction worse. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying, especially like having a daughter and whatnot. I just sometimes want to throw the fucking phone in the trash. You know what I'm saying? I think it's ruining society.
It's a balance, dude, you know, because I'll look on it to get like inspired for like my own ideas and stuff, and like kind of see like, you know, what's working and what's not. And like I like manage a couple social media pages too, so it's like interesting to see like what works for their niches. And like I basically, like, for each respective page I see that kind of video for like them. So that's been interesting. But I wanted to keep it on YouTube because one thing I wanted to talk to you about last time that I didn't ask is the Your Favorite Martian Ray William Johnson collabs. We didn't talk about that at all. And I was like, after you left, I was like, oh my God, like, because that was like, I don't know how, you know, actually this is crazy too. We could talk about this, but I met you in 2014. I found the photo of it at Vans Warped Tour. But after that, I mean, I think one of my introductions to you was like through a lot of like Ray's stuff too. Okay. So how did you guys end up connecting? And like, you know, I think of like the Orphan Tears and all that era of
Yeah.
videos.
Ray was like the biggest dude on YouTube at the same time when I was doing pretty good on YouTube, and I think he made a video like shouting me out basically, which was really helpful at the time. A lot of people saw it, and a lot of people like he promoted one of my early music video songs or whatever. Like one of my early YouTube videos that had my song in it. Like I wouldn't call it a music video. This song called Do You Think It'd Be Okay? It was like a love song, and I just like recorded a really shitty video in my room, and he promoted it. And I don't know exactly when the first time we met was, but we used to like hang a little bit. Like I remember going to like partying with him. You know what I'm saying? Like I went to his birthday party. He would come to the shows. And like I remember one specific night where me and him got really drunk together. It was funny too. I've seen Ray William Johnson stumbling drunk before. He doesn't get like that anymore. He's calm now. I mean, I probably shouldn't be talking shit, but I don't really care because I'm friends with Ray and he's cool. And we've been doing Your Favorite Martian stuff for a long time. The Orphan Tears one, that was from like 2010 or something like that. And I remember he came to my house at the time, and my manager was mad at me for doing that song. He's like, "What are you doing? Like, you can't. If you're gonna be like a big rapper, I was like signed to Def Jam at the time. He's like, you can't be doing like shit like this. That's an interesting story about Orphan Tears. And I wrote the chorus to that song, and people still like, it's like got like 40-some million views or whatever. But then, like maybe 2 years ago, we revamped it. Like Ray William Johnson is a passionate and creative person, man. He's actually a really talented musician, to the point where like I don't even think he knows how good he is at music. He just loves it and he has fun doing it. He also loves figuring out what works and what doesn't. You know what I mean? In terms of like
the game.
Yeah, he loves the success of it in a way too, but he also really just loves creativity, and he's a big fan of shit like like the Marvel universe and superheroes and like scary movies, like genres of pop culture stuff that he likes to like kind of make his own version of. And Your Favorite Martian is like a world like that. In my opinion, Your Favorite Martian could be really big. You know what I'm saying? We'll see if it ever does. But me, him, and my boy Davey, when he revamped and did like the second generation of Your Favorite Martian.
Yeah, I saw that was more recently.
Yeah. So we did we've probably done like 20 songs, and he comes over and we call it a slumber party. We just do like a whole weekend where we write as much material as we can, whichever ones that Ray likes, he'll make music videos for. And it's cool because like I get a piece of the streaming stuff, and that really is really, really helpful. And we always have fun when we do it. There's a lot of stuff that gets left on the cutting room floor. Like I think the last time we met up, I don't think he's going to use any of that shit. I don't know. He might be thinking about getting some other people. I don't know. But we've had some good ones. We had a song called Verified that was the shit. We had a song called Uno Reverse Card that was pretty good. It's funny because the ones that do the best are sometimes like not the ones that I think are the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
that's how it always happens, dude.
Yeah, we made a bunch of them, and Ray's awesome, man. I love working with Ray. And me and him and Davey have a cool chemistry working on the Your Favorite Martian stuff. And what I like about doing it is like I don't feel as much pressure when we're writing stuff, which when I'm writing stuff for Wax, I kind of have this like, it's like I'm Wax, like I'm representing myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I put a lot of like self-worth into my own music, an unhealthy amount. You know what I'm saying? And I've always like I am myself, who is also Wax, the rapper. You know what I'm saying?
No, I feel it. I understand that. Like it's kind of I feel that where it's like the amount of effort I put into like my music versus my podcast. You know what I mean? I love my podcast. I care about my podcast, but I honestly don't think I would love or care about my podcast if it wasn't something that like kind of came easy to me for, you know what I mean? Like the second all of this becomes a headache, I think it's done. You know what I mean? Where it's like, but the fact that I don't think about it much, but like with my music, like I am very like, oh man, like, is this a good mix? Is this like, does the vocal sound good? Like, should we reproduce this? You know what I mean? So I get that in the sense where it's like, I think I just have more pride for my music just overall. You know what I mean? I am proud of the podcast too, but like, I think a podcast like has more wiggle room to like, you know what I mean? Like 40-minute, 50-minute conversation versus like a song that like, you know, you want people to listen to like over and over and over again, you know?
Yeah, well, you're putting it out as your creation, you know what I'm saying? Where, you know, and I think that this would be the same if you were in like a band and the band was a gag. Like if me and you started a band, I knew this is a bad example because it's a cover band, but I knew this band was called Pterodactyl, and they would all dress as dinosaurs and do Pantera covers. But like if we started something and we kind of like, you know, we're Wax and Mike Squires, but we also do this project. Now if this project, if it's not as high quality, you don't like take it personally. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes when you don't put personal into it, you can get more creative because there's no second guessing. There's no anxiety about it. There's no like voice in the back of your head that says it sucks.
The side quest.
You're just like, fuck it, let's go all the way creative. Anything is possible. It can be corny, it can be cheesy, it can be a love song, it can be a metal song. Who gives a fuck? Like, so I like that about working with Ray, and it's cool because if I'm getting too much like that, he'll quell that and be like, no, we can't do that, you know. And then we have Davey, who produces all the songs, who's like the voice of reason as well. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I love Ray, and he's really helped me out a lot too. He's really helped me out, man. Like every time I do a show and I talk to fans afterward, there's always at least one, if not 10 people that are like, yeah, I first saw you on Ray Williams Johnson, you know?
Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring up about like the manager like being hesitant for you doing Orphan Tears, because it's like there's a lot of instances where it's like I see things like an Orphan Tears being like a thing that could introduce you to a new audience, which ends up helping the big picture anyways. You know what I mean? And you know, I think about it like with Watsky too, right? You know, I think about like the epic rap battles of history and stuff like that.
Yeah, I did a couple
episodes. I was
going to
say you did those too, but like it's kind of the same thing where it's like I just remember being on tour with George and like every show someone's bringing it up to him as I'm like helping him with the meet and greet. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, you might not think it would be a good thing, but like, I mean, if it's really bringing people to get in the room and like become a fan of all your stuff, it really is a good thing.
Right. It's like it's somebody opening the door and saying like, do you want to come in and check out all this other stuff?
And as long as it aligns with what you believe in and like you as a person in some capacity. If it's not you, then don't do it.
Right. And there are some times where you can, you do have to be careful with what you do. You don't want to align yourself with something that's foul. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, Your Favorite Martian does have, especially their older stuff, does have some messaging that's probably fucking controversial. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I've been on podcasts before where I didn't like kind of research who it was, and then I get on there, I'm like, oh, I don't know that I would have done this podcast. That's what you stand for? Fuck. You know what I'm saying? I've been on stuff like that, and you got to like be aware of like what you're getting yourself into. You know what I'm saying? But I was like with Ray, I didn't have any problem with any of the shit he was saying. He generally was just talking shit about viral videos. You know, that was his thing. It was kind of like America's Funniest Home Videos online. You know? No,
that's true, dude. That's true. Yeah, Equals 3 was huge. I mean, like, I remember watching that in high school, but I want to bring the conversation somewhere else. I want to bring it. So you recently brought up pterodactyls. I'm really glad that you brought up dinosaurs, because I'm convinced after going through all of your material that you have a super viral song that it's just, you have a song that's like, this is a blank dinosaur, or like, you know what I'm talking about, dude? Bro, I was listening to that last night and I was like, yo, this like low key is like kind of genius, dude. But it's like, I don't know what is that song, dude? Like you know,
I don't remember what the name of the thing is, but back in those days,
it was like MC something.
Back in those days, there'd be YouTube ciphers. So people that would rap on YouTube, if I did a 16 and then I'd pass it to you. Then all of a sudden Mike Squires is a 16 and he passes it to, you know, rapper at the time, be like Tim De La Ghetto or Prince E or and I don't remember exactly what cipher that was, but I think at that time I was just being a dick, I guess, and like it got to me, and instead of being like, I didn't feel like doing like yo, I'm rapping, I'm the best. Yo, mathematical, megadical, gradical, radical. So I was just like, I went the opposite way. I was like, this is a brachiosaur. This is a brontosaurus.
Bro, I'm convinced that's a viral sound on like socials, dude.
Really?
Like
It's like a baby shark kind of thing.
Dude, yeah, because it's
I haven't listened to that in 15 years, probably.
Dude, I like listened to it last night because I was just going through everything, and I was like, yo, this is I was mad excited when I heard it. Dude. I was like, yo, this is kind of hard, dude.
Right.
And it's, to me, it's like, it's just so funny though too, because the way like these TikTok sounds and everything works, like it's, although you're talking about dinosaurs, like it's so applicable to like small businesses, like, you know, like for example, Sarah has a candle business where it's like, so they would use that sound like, this is a stegosaurus, you know what I mean? But it'd be like, and then the text would be like, this is my cinnamon candle. This is, but like in text, but you would use the same sound, dude.
Interesting.
Like, yeah. So, but I brought up this point because I feel like you have a lot of material that's not on streaming platforms. I'd imagine that's not on streaming platforms.
Probably. It's interesting because like maybe like 2 years ago, I put an album on Spotify called, it's literally, the name of the album is Songs from My YouTube where they weren't on streaming until now, you know, and I put a bunch of that stuff on there. Not as deep of a cut as the dinosaur song. I didn't put that on there.
Is a deep cut, dude.
But there were songs that like my song Crazy X, I think the video has like 3 million views and it just wasn't on any streaming services.
Yeah.
So I put it on there. And songs like that, you know. So I did have that thought, but I wasn't thinking that deep.
Yeah, well, because if I was you too, and because you already have the material done, and if you don't want it like aligned exactly with like your current Wax stuff too, you could always make like it's almost like a side project, right? Where it's like you make a Spotify, the Wax archives, and it just like get everything up there too. So it's like if people like really want to tune into the old stuff, that, you know what I mean, like that maybe you don't want on your Wax page now, but like, you know, there's still value because that's how people found you. You know what I mean? Like, it just gives them the option to live it, like, for them to listen to it, and, like, could end up being another stream of revenue if one of these sounds go viral. And then if it does go viral and you see the numbers picking up, you're going to be like, you know what? This maybe is a Wax song. And then you just switch it over and just add you as an artist on it later
So what
on.
would I call the artist?
I don't know, like something Wax, like it'd have to be like Wax.
You know, the Ray William Johnson, Your Favorite Martian stuff, I'm called Cartoon Wax.
Wax, yeah. Well, that's
because I didn't want people to go to my page and my number one song, like probably my top 5 would all be Your Favorite Martian songs, and people would think that that's what all the stuff I did was, you know?
Yeah, I don't know what you'd call it, but I like the idea of like having different, and I actually see, this is a crazy thing, I see industry artists do this, where it's like, you'll take like a popular, I'll use an example like an artist like Kid Laroi, right? Mm-hmm. Like he's very popular in the mainstream, and it's got to be someone on his team, because who the heck is doing this? Like, they're purposely leaking his music on YouTube, on like these random YouTube channels. They're making new Spotify accounts, like putting like songs that are like building hype on YouTube. Basically, they're like testing these records before they even touch his like main Spotify. So it's like a really interesting thing that I've like just noticed, where, you know, they'll put a snippet or leak, and like people will go check these things out, dude. It's like, and they'll start getting like hundreds of thousands of views, like get millions of views, and they're like, oh, this one's doing really well, this is the single. You know what I mean? So it's like interesting how like you can make these like burner accounts to kind of like test your music and just see how it does, but it's still like technically not an because if it doesn't work out,
it's like just a
tester,
a polling. It's like public opinion poll. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's interesting. And you have to, people do that nowadays. Like, you know, people's TikTok, like you have to experiment. You have to try. You have to kind of fail publicly. You know what I'm saying? Where like, I think. Especially pre-internet, but even early YouTube, it was like if you put a music video on there, like you're pretty much saying like, this is good. You know what I'm saying? Now you can test all kind of weird shit. You know what I mean? But
and it is kind of cool.
I don't as far as that, like I just don't find that I have enough fucking time in the day to do all the stuff like that I'd like to do. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's fair.
I'd love to do all kind of side projects. I'd love to do, you know, like I was telling you earlier, like, you know, every artist is tethered to everything they've ever done, you know? So, like, if I put anything out that says Wax, it's connected to Wax from fucking 17 years ago, you know? And all the artists, fans also, like, is like my brother, and even my old band that broke up 20 years ago is still in my like fans also like. So if you want to make something that's actually new from scratch, you actually have to start from fucking scratch. So I always want to make like a whole new thing where like, you know, I find a fake picture and be like fucking Johnny McBeal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just some guy, and it's a different genre and like, you know, something totally different that starts from scratch. You know, I think the algorithm shit can actually hinder artists that have been out for a long time. Where, like if you start from scratch, there's nothing. It's cool to have a big catalog, but it's also cool to be like, this is what I got. You know
It
what I'm
makes
saying?
sense.
You can't judge me by shit I did 15 years ago. You know,
Because if you come swinging, like if you start new accounts, but you come in the game swinging and doing it the absolute right way, you know what I mean? Like a way that like works for you, like you might see growth a lot faster. You know what I mean? Just because, you know what I mean? You kind of have an idea of like what's working and what's not.
Right.
You know what I mean? Versus
and work
like,
regardless of working. Like if you're like you know, if you're a creative person, you don't like. It's weird because modern day creativity, take like somebody who has a TikTok account, for example. To have a successful TikTok account, what people would tell you to do is to have all the videos kind of be the same thing. But if you're really a creative person, that would be the fucking that wouldn't be fun. You know what I'm saying? So for somebody like me, like I've done comedy, I've done stand up, I've done food review shows, I do country music, pop music, rap music. Like if I wanted to start something else, I would, you know, logically just have to like really start something completely else. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. Again, I'm a little loopy today. I drank a lot of fucking coffee, but I don't know exactly what fucking question I'm answering right now. But I'm saying it's tough. It's tough nowadays to be creative when they're inherently telling you to be only creative at one thing, you know, which is in itself not creative. You know?
Yeah, I want to talk to you about a story. You got to tell me this story, dude, because I was like scrolling through your feed and I saw a photo of you and Snoop Dogg, dude.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, one, how and why you were meeting Snoop Dogg and what you guys talked about? Because it said you guys talked for a hot second.
He has a podcast that's just like this called GGN News. I was a guest.
Oh, I mean,
It's on the internet. I
gotta go tap into this, dude.
You know what though? It's like we talked for an hour and they cut it to like 20 minutes or something. And it's like I've done a couple things like this where like I feel like every time I said something funny, they cut that. They didn't use it. You know what I'm saying?
Do you remember what you said?
No, this was a while ago. But I do remember that Snoop had his own blunt roller. And I smoked a blunt with him, which was obviously like, you know, some crazy like what the fuck is going on childhood dream stuff. But also I remember that he was so smart and charming and witty that like within 5 minutes I forgot it was Snoop Dogg. Like we had a conversation about somehow we started talking about Nirvana. And he was like, yeah, I knew Kurt. And I was like, oh my God, you're fucking Snoop Dogg. You know what I'm saying? Like I kept forgetting he was Snoop Dogg. We talked for like an hour, just me and him, just talking, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever done, honestly. And you know, I was just a guest on his podcast. Like my friend was, the guy that like managed his podcast was a fan of me, and Snoop was really cordial, really kind. And it was funny too because at the end of the thing, I had my podcast, Wax's podcast at the time, and at the end of the thing, he was like, "I could get on your podcast," and like, you know, it's hard when you're like people that are really famous and successful. For me, it's hard to be like, "Yeah, let me get your number." Sure, because like he was serious. He's just he would have done my podcast. Like I know through people that know Snoop, like he's chill, like he does shit. You know what I'm saying? He's not like. And when you talk to him, you can tell he's very down to earth, like accessible or whatever. But I kind of regret like not trying to like forge that relationship further because we got along, we had fun on the podcast. But yeah, that's the only time I've ever met him is that day, you know. But you can see it on it's online. Like I freestyle, we talk about like porn and shit. But I definitely remember that there was like conversations and things that I thought were cool that got cut, you know. That happens though.
Yeah.
I did this show. There was a show on Netflix about, it was like a chef. It was like there's two chefs and then three judges, and it's like food where they put weed in the food. You know what I'm saying? And I remember on that one specifically, I made a bunch of like what I thought were funny, witty comments, and they cut all of them, and all the comments they kept in were like just like really like, yeah, man, weed, yeah, then you get high, wouldn't you, man? Like just dumb fucking stoner nonsense, you know what I'm saying? But anyway.
Yeah, and I feel like you have a good name, like Wax, you know, for like weed culture and stuff like that.
That's
too.
true.
But I need to ask you, where is the name Wax from? I honestly don't know that, dude.
You know, it's funny. I was just telling somebody the other day, the funny thing about being a rapper, especially if you're in your 40s, it's like I made that name up when I was like 12. You know what I'm saying? On almost every rapper, they made their name up when they're about 12. You know, Snoop Doggy Dogg. Be like, when'd you make that name up? And in some cases, it wasn't made up. It was like people called you that, or it's just your name. Some people go by their name. But I started going by Wax when I was like a little kid, and I can't honestly tell you why. You know what I'm saying? It could be because there was a character in Menace to Society named Wax, and I thought it sounded cool. I could have I really think that I just thought it sounded cool. But I've thought like since then there's a lot of, you know, it's a versatile substance, you know, like skateboarders use it to make things slide, whereas surfers use it to make things stick. It can be like solid, then you can melt it and you mold it into all different shapes and shit. It's always in your ears, you know?
Damn, dude.
And also it's vinyl too. But at this point, you know, obviously I made my name before the internet was out because I wish I would have made it with like 4 X's or something, because there's a bunch of other artists. Like there's like a punk band named Wax, a metal band named Wax, a K-pop group named Wax, there's a South African folk singer named Wax. There's a million artists named Wax. So on my Spotify channel, there's always like songs that aren't by me. Like even right now, my title page or whatever is like a mess, you know? And it's all because I don't have a search engine optimized name. And we might have talked about this before, but every rapper now, you know, like you just said, the Kid Leroy. I don't think there's a space in his name, but what's 24K Golden?
Yeah.
Or they're all the rappers that have passwords as names because you have to have a thing that nobody else has on their at sign, you know? So I would probably have a different name, but I'm gonna try to utilize my name Wax in a smarter way. I'm gonna talk to your girlfriend about getting candles made, which is something I've never done. And over the past few years, I've been more and more into making my own vinyl records. Not just because vinyl records are more popular, but I have actually like to sit at my house and listen to vinyl records. You know what I'm saying? I like the experience of listening to a vinyl record because you can't skip it. You put the thing on, you sit down, and you got to listen to the songs on the album that you don't like. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, fucking blah, blah, blah came out with an album today. Oh, really? I'm cooking eggs, and I got to think of what I'm doing this weekend, and I'll listen to, Beyonce has a song? Let me listen to 10 seconds of it while I'm doing fucking 5 other things. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to figure out what you're doing this weekend and doing tonight. You're listening to that. You're looking at your other screen over here. Then the TV's doing that. Then the news is over here. Like, you know what I'm saying?
A lot of stimulation
Fuck
going
that.
on. Yeah.
Sit down. Track 1, red wine. Track 2, you got your girl or you're by yourself or whatever. That you're not thinking about what you're going to do while you're listening to songs. That's what you're going to do. That's the experience of listening to a vinyl record. So I'm actually kind of going hard on the name Wax, and I'm starting to not only is my next album going to only be available on vinyl, but I'm starting a record player.
Oh, let's go, dude.
Yeah, I'm starting a company called Wax Mode that is we're going to be selling record players because, you know, no matter what kind of music you make, if you are selling a record, you need your fucking people to have a record player. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to sell record players. Wax Mode is going to be by independent artists for independent artists record player company. And I need to get you as one of my first artists.
I'm very down, dude.
Well, what's going to happen is if somebody goes to the page and buys a record player from Wax Mode, it's going to be waxmodeplayers.com. It's not all up yet. You know
what's crazy, dude? My record player, I'm in the middle of a move right now, and literally when I picked it up, I didn't even do anything wrong. I picked it up, it just broke.
My record player will not do that.
There you go,
Wax Mode
dude.
record players, they're not going to break like shit. Your shitty record player.
Dude, I'm really in the market for a new and you've never seen it, but I have a very extensive record collection too, dude. So no, I'm really excited about that.
You're in the market for a new record player?
I am in the market.
In about a month, I will be selling record players. Waxmodeplayers.com. You'll be able to go there. For now, at first, like when we first open, it'll probably just be like you can buy a record player, and we're gonna have these dope ass slip mats that are gonna be on the record player. But the goal is you go there, you buy the record player. There's a drop down menu with a bunch of fucking artists. Say you choose Mike Squires. Now you get your slip mat. It has the Wax Mode slip mat, but it has your logo on it, and you get a piece of the buy.
Oh, that's really.
I want to make it
dude.
a profit sharing company. You know what I'm saying? That's the goal.
That gets me excited too. And yeah, no, I could definitely. You should have seen me with my record player, dude. Like you would have just the plastic broke. I was there like looking for a hot glue gun. I glued it. It came back apart. It's like a Frankenstein together record player, right?
Hot glue gun. What are you doing?
It was sad, dude. But all of this actually makes me want to bring up your upcoming album, dude.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned it briefly with it being on Wax. So, let's talk about the new upcoming album, dude.
Well, first of all, I come bearing gifts.
Oh, let's go, dude.
First of all, I come bearing gifts. This is the first gift copy that I've ever given somebody, by the way, which is for you. I don't know if you can see that, but this is
oh yeah, there you are.
Trying to avoid the glare.
You're doing a good job, dude.
Anyway, this is my new album is called Lifetime Achievement Award. It's completely produced by my friend Kush Modi, who is also your friend. And this is only going to be available on vinyl. I probably will put it on streaming after a while, but initially it's only going to be on vinyl. And when you buy it, you will get the digital copy as well. I'm not like that crazy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I want people to be able to listen to it if they're out. If you're out on a jog, I don't want you to carry a fucking record player. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it skipped. But if you buy the vinyl, you get the digital copy. But we're selling it just on vinyl because. I just described the experience, you know what I'm saying? A vinyl record, especially like when you feel it and look at it, it gives you more like respect for it. It makes you want to listen to it fully and not like passively. You're an active listener and you get to like, here. You got like a something for a guitar pick or something? I got a key. No, this is you don't keys like are just this now.
Just like they don't have the actual key part, dude.
Fuck. Oh, you know what? I got something in my pocket. I bet. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah.
Use a guitar pick. That's the old technique to open.
There we go, dude. Shit. Breaking the seal.
Yeah. So this shrink wrap comes off. Obviously, this one is like I brought it to you in my bag, so it's like a little like this. It's a little like right here. It's like a little fucked up because I've
got some character to it, dude.
Anybody that buys this off my website, off bishoprecords.com, it will not come with a fucking thing like this. You know what I'm saying? Lifetime Achievement Award. You open it up.
Oh, that's so great, dude. I haven't seen that art yet. Dude, the art on this and like even just the text placement
That's me giving myself a handshake. And an interesting fact about it is we shot this, obviously you had to get somebody else. The other hand is actually George Watsky's hand.
Oh, that's actually funny, dude.
And then, the thing is me at the podium with all my fucking hypothetical awards, and I'm giving my Lifetime Achievement Award speech to a bunch of empty seats.
Dude, the art is very tasteful. But what's the title mean to you?
Lifetime Achievement Award. This album is the last album of my youth, basically. Like I finished this album maybe 2 years ago. It's the only time I've ever done that. It's kind of just been sitting there for a little bit because I've been so busy, and we wanted to put it out right and get the cover and get the actual vinyl printed out before we dropped it. I didn't intend this to be this way, but this is basically the last album I did before I have a wife and a kid, and my identity has kind of changed as a dad. And this is like essentially life lessons that I've learned. And Lifetime Achievement Award means that like this kind of cultural idea of achievement, like let me get rich or die trying. You know what I'm saying? Once I get to the promised land, everything will be cool. Once I make it, once I achieve, let me get a Grammy. Let me get a trophy for this, an award for that. Like all these things that we search for fulfillment takes away from like the value of just everyday life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it's a little cliche to say like the journey over the destination, but we do often forget about how awesome it is to just live every day and how beautiful things can be. And this is kind of about the one of the thesis statements of the album is that we put too much on achievement. The other kind of like that's kind of like half the album, and the other half is about like things that I've learned about love and heartbreak. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been in a bunch of like serious relationships, and I've been through a lot of like really, really tough breakups, and it's kind of just like the last 3 songs on this album is a trilogy where it's like breakup, heartbreak, but now everything's fine. You know what I'm saying? And it's just kind of about how like time heals all, and it actually kind of does. You know what I'm saying? One of the songs on here is like When I First Met My Wife. You know, it's like a love song. And what is cool about this album is it's all the same producer, and he produces like the whole thing is like kind of like this warm vintage kind of like old school but new school sound, and it sounds very cohesive and warm and analog and vintage, and it's kind of like the perfect palette for me to tell these stories over, where it's like, you know, it feels
a little
like
nostalgic.
It feels nostalgic, and something where like it's a little bit adult, like an old man telling you the wisdom, like sit, come on kids, sit by the fire. You know, which is all of this is like we intended this to be a record. This is put on the record, sit by the fire, and listen to Uncle Wax tell you about life. You know what I'm saying? It's not fucking what I just said about like, oh, Wax has a new album? Oh, I guess I'll listen to 10 seconds of each song to see if I would ever have any interest in perusing it in the future. Then you forget about it. Then the next day Drake came out with a song, you don't care. You know what I'm saying? This is something where like we wanted it to be, especially for the people who initially listened to it. Like eventually someday it'll be on Spotify, but for the people who really care, we want you to have this shit. You know what I'm saying? We want you to be able to open this and look at this and like...
It's so well done, dude.
You know, like fucking...
And you could just tell the amount of effort that went into like... Because even last time you were here, we talked about this project, but to see it more developed now is
so
like...
this is disc 1 and disc 2.
Fully developed.
And speaking of effort into it, this is a double album. Not because I have 2 albums worth of music, because the second album is an artist producer commentary album. You know, like back in the day when you get a DVD, you could watch the movie, but then you could also watch the movie with director's commentary.
Yeah.
Me and Cooch did that.
Oh, that's amazing.
So basically, there's a bonus disc that is it's almost like a podcast. It's like us talking. It's like we play every single song and talk about every single song that's on the album.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
dude.
it's a bonus disc of commentary, and I'm gonna be selling that only on vinyl, and. I'm like saying all this on your podcast. I've never even said any of this shit before, but I'm also gonna have record players, and if you buy the record player, you're gonna get the fucking record with it.
Oh, that's
you know
awesome too, dude.
We're doing a lot of shit, man. I like this is what I'm saying. How am I gonna do all this and raise a kid? It's like I'm really stressed out, dude. Like,
but you got it, because it's one of those things where it's like, if you want it to happen, it'll happen and you'll make it happen. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a lot of life too, where it's like, even right now, like I'm in the middle of the move. Like I move on Monday, it's Saturday. We're not packed up. But it'll happen because it just needs to happen.
It has to happen.
You know?
My friend One Ton, shout out One Ton. His thing is it's all gonna work out in the end. It always does. Which I think is a really fucking awesome attitude to have, because like, yeah, it worked out how it worked out because time went on and whatever happened. But like, it's a really positive spin on it. Just saying, everything works out.
Yeah, it's
but
really
having a kid too, what I find is like, and maybe this is a gender thing. Maybe this is like an old school like caveman thing. Like when I had a kid, like this paternal drive as a provider kicked in. So it didn't make me want to like be a stay-at-home dad, even though I love. More than anything, I love being a stay-at-home dad, just chilling with my kid, you know? But it really made me want to, like, step my game up and, like, not only, like, provide for my family and make us more comfortable, but even more so, provide an example for my daughter that when she gets older, to be like, yeah, you can do cool shit. You know what I mean? You can be a musician if you want to be. If that's whatever you want to be, you can be. You don't have to be like, oh, well, I have a kid now, so I better go fucking get a job at Target. I can't give dreams. Who does that? You know, it's like leading by example is what that kicked in my caveman brain or being or psyche or whatever you want to call it.
And I kind of mentioned this last time, and I know it to be true just because I talked to you. Is that your time has probably been way more efficient, where it's like, okay, from this time to this time, I need to get this done. So like, because you know what I mean? You have a family. Like, you're like, I want to go spend time with my daughter.
Yeah.
So, like, let's not. Are we doing this? Okay, we're doing this?
That's 100% correct, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, even like, I'm out here on this trip. We did the show last night in Connecticut. So I wake up in the hotel today, and before we met up to do this podcast, like, I did a bunch of fucking work. I put out a music video and shit this morning, you know? Like, stuff that I wouldn't have been able to do at home, you know what I'm saying? So, like, anytime that I get some time, and my wife is the best. She helps me. Like, she's always like, you need some time? You need some time to do your stuff, you know? And, you know, it's any parent that does art or entrepreneurship will tell you that when you have a kid, it increases your time management skills. It doesn't give you more time. It gives you way less time. So you have to fucking use your time wisely. Exactly like what you just said.
Yeah, dude. What's something that, you know, I'll pull back to this album for a second. Like, what's a experience or, like, a fun story, like, that you have from, like, the process of creating this album?
The process of creating it?
Yeah, like, do you have, like, a fun studio story or, like, something that was, like, an inconvenience to you, what that would make for a great story?
honestly, like, me and Koosh, we spent a lot of time on this album, and, like, we had a lot of disagreements. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that does music collaboratively will tell you that, like, if you're in a band or whatever, there's always going to be disagreements. Like, we see things differently a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was, like, a song that there's a bunch of songs that didn't make the album, but one of them was, like, you know, Koosh made some comments about my lyrics, and I took it personally, and we got into a straight up fight. I thought that the shit was done, you know. And sometimes you have to work through those kind of things. I mean, I've had this with other projects. Like, the worst one I had was with me and my brother had an issue one time with a project that we did together, which was the worst, you know. Or, like, back in the day, my band had to kick out a band member who was, like, our best friend, you know what I'm saying, which was the worst. But me and Koosh had some disagreements on this one, but I think the point of me saying that is that kind of shit, that kind of tension is what builds something great. Because when there's disagreements and you're like, nah, this ain't it, you don't put it on the album, you know?
Yeah, and I think being able to communicate those kind of things too are, like, very important. And, like, it's a two-sided thing where it's like, you know, if you're feeling some type of way, being able to communicate that, but on the other side, like, being able to listen and just like understand.
Yes, you have to. It's a give and take, and it's easy to take.
It is easy.
Let me look at these songs and see if there's any other interesting things. The last song we did was "Congratulatory Trinkets," which is like about. It's like a just an all rap kind of poem about, like, you know, world's greatest teacher coffee mugs, and
that's funny, dude.
You know, one thing is, like, you know, you work at this company for 30 years and then you do your retirement party and they give you a nice pen.
Oh, dude.
You know, it's like, this pen is beautiful. It's the perfect thing for you to sign your last will and testament.
Are you doing this all for merch items, dude? Because the second you're saying, I'm like, world's greatest rapper mugs.
No, well,
dude.
you know what I was thinking about doing? I saved all these trophies that we have.
The trinkets, dude.
And I think I might do, like, a contest where I give them away.
Oh, that's really
if anybody
cool,
wants
too.
them. I saved all that stuff, so, like, the actual, like, this medal and this big trophy and this fake gold record, which, by the way, I have a real gold record. Watsky, who's like also, some people don't know this, is also like an artisan, like, wood shop kind of dude. He made the fake gold record. It looks better than the real one.
That's so funny, dude.
But I talk about gold records on the album. It's like, I say, like, I got a gold record hanging on my wall. Looks pretty nice with the frame and all. I wonder where they got all the parts and glass. Probably at Michael's Arts and Crafts. You know what I'm saying? It's like, they just fucking made it. It's bullshit. They just made it from the craft store. Like, I've shopped with a friend of mine who does an award show at Michael's Arts and Crafts and got, like, these certificates, right? And he does, like, a Hall of Fame for musicians in San Diego. And when I saw him get it, I was like, oh, I had, like, this negative thing, like, it's just a bunch of fucking bullshit. But when I saw him give the award out to these people and how fucking good it made them feel, I actually had, like, some second thoughts about it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's all up for interpretation. Maybe I'm right about this. Maybe I'm wrong about that, you know?
Yeah. And I think it is good to, like, have moments to appreciate your achievements, though, in general. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you know, sometimes I even feel I get stuck in go mode where I am just constantly just hammering the nail and I don't take a moment to be like, oh, we just did that. That was sick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it actually is important to take those moments and, like, you know, we're doing a good thing. crushing it. But I always like to just keep it going, though, too, you know? Try not to ponder on things too much.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what I've noticed is every time I create something, like right afterwards, something happens that makes me like question my creation.
Yeah.
Like I watched my friend give out these essentially lifetime achievement awards and how good it made people feel. Whereas I'm kind of shitting on that whole idea on this album, and I was like, yeah, well, you know, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
That anything that I've ever fucking said, anything I've said on this podcast, you know, maybe I'm wrong.
But
most of these, I'm looking at these things as far as like an interesting story about the creation of this album. Well, first of all, an interesting story is that in the middle, like Koosh took this picture of me shaking my own hand, and the other hand is George Watsky's hand. You know, mostly when I write these songs, I just sit down. I have a specific place where I go in San Diego, Sunset Cliffs. There's a specific bench that I sit on. I bring my little...
I think I've seen you do content there.
Yeah, I bring my little guitar, and I just I try to connect with the creator or whatever it is, and shit just comes to me, you know? And that's the case with most of these songs, honestly. It's You as a story. It's You as I had a friend that... I have a friend that would always kind of like... be like broke and in trouble and have bad things going on in his life, and he would be like, the universe just isn't like giving me what I need right now. It's like we're having this battle, and I'm like, the universe, like you had a like example, like you got a parking ticket, but it's like the universe didn't tell you to park in a clearly illegal space.
But, yeah,
that wasn't the universe, that's you. So the song's called It's You, and it's like about that concept, you know.
You know, it's funny that you
shit
say
that.
that.
I used to do is like an old. It's like it's literally called. It's literally about the shit that I used to do versus the verse that I would never do now. You know, it's 3 rap verses. The first verse is about the way I used to behave and how I wouldn't do that now. The second verse is about things that I used to say that I wouldn't say now. Like, you know, you listen to your old lyrics and you cringe a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the third verse is about the physical, like I used to be able to do these things physically, and now my old body cannot do these things anymore, you know?
I want to talk to you a little bit about It's You, because that that resonated with me pretty heavily, just because, you know, I hear people will say, like, you know, the universe is testing you. You know what I mean? I'm not somebody who actually, like, believes in that. Like, I just think sometimes reality is just hard. You know?
Right.
And it's like, and this might be a time that, because I did want to bring this up today. So yesterday we had a show, and I lost my grandmother yesterday.
Oh, I'm so sorry, man.
Yeah. But it's just like, you know, life happens, and, like, we knew that it was going to happen for a little bit now, you know what I mean? But it's like, just the point that, like, life goes on. But we talked about this a little bit in the car, and I was like, well, I felt like I, like, just needed to, like, get the things that I need to get done. And you were like, but the thing is, you don't, dude. You know what I mean? So I thought that was just, like, an interesting, like you were saying, like, if I needed the time, like, I really could have, like, called out. But in my head, I'm like, but for me personally, I like when things like that happen, I like getting lost in my work. I like, you know, I like the distractions, because then I, like, can kind of take it in doses versus just like sitting around just pondering on it. For
quick background, last night I had a gig in Connecticut, and Squires was my DJ, and during the day yesterday he had found out that his grandma passed, but he didn't tell me until today. So, like, I mean, I do appreciate you doing that in a way, but what I told him today is, like, you know, the old saying in show business is the show must go on. I don't believe in that. I don't believe the show must go on. I think that there are things in life that are more important than the show. And the one thing in life that's more important than the show is your family. And I don't mean like you shouldn't have done the show. Like,
yeah.
I totally get like that you'd rather just get shit done. And also I think the main thing is, like, the thing that I do appreciate that people say is, like, they would have wanted you to do the show. You know what I'm saying? Like, in a lot of cases, like, your grandma might have been like, dude, you don't have to, like, not do these things just for me. You know what I'm saying? But I'm of like, if you would have told me, like, hey, my grandma died, I need to do some shit that involves that, like, I would have figured out something. I could have found a DJ or I'd have figured it out. But I do totally get, especially because I know you, like,
workaholic.
You're a workaholic.
Yeah,
you're a workaholic.
Like, yeah. So no, I just thought it was interesting, and it's like weird because, like, you know, like, even this year I've had a couple lulls of just like moments, but I'm very much somebody to push through it. Even on like some episodes that I'm sure people have watched, like I probably was going through it heavily that day, but sometimes I just don't let it, like, I'm able to kind of like turn on the thing.
Right.
And then, you know what I mean? Deal with it. Like even yesterday I called my sister, or 2 days ago I called my sister, and she's like, yo, your podcast voice is on. I was like, oh shit, like my bad.
Right.
She's like, I was like, oh yeah, I just shot 3 episodes, so it makes sense. But like, you know, I guess the way that I am on the podcast is more like animated, but when I'm home, I'm like way more reserved and just like, you know.
Well, when you're like, whether you're a radio personality or a podcast, or even like the difference between like you're being an animated, an amplified version of your own personality. Yeah.
Even like YouTubers, like that's kind of like a thing. You know, you see them like, hey YouTube, like, you know, and it's more like
now. And I've heard people say this. Young people nowadays that grew up with social media, everything they do is performative. Like it's not natural to act like yourself in front of a camera, which by the way is like, that's what you're kind of learning to do when you become a stand-up comedian. You're kind of learning to act as yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Hey guys, on this, and like, and now all of a sudden, like you did something. Now it's like, oh, I should have filmed that. Now you're doing it again, and it's like this. It's not natural, and you're acting like yourself. And for young people, everything now is fucking performative, you know. And I can see it in the way people are. I don't want to say where I was going to go with that, but
you don't have to, dude.
There's a sexual element to it.
Okay. Where are you saying like?
I think that people now have such access to pornography that when younger people have sex, they're just imitating what they saw in pornography, and I think that's weird.
I think there's
it's not like a natural discovery of the human body. It's like now we do this, and now we do that, and now we do that because that's what they do in porn. You know what I'm saying?
It's like
maybe don't put this hard in the podcast.
We got it, dude. But the point that I see you're getting to is like, you know, because there's so much accessible out there, and people see like things done a certain way. Like, oh, I'm gonna do it that way. Like, and that kind of applies to like the overall umbrella of everything. Like, even with careers, like, you know, I see real estate agents that are all like influencers now.
Yeah,
like,
everybody's,
you know what I mean?
an influencer.
I'm like, what's going on here? Like, it's like now it's not even enough just to be. And it kind of applies exactly with art. Like, it's not enough just to be an artist. You gotta do the content. It's not enough just to be a realtor. You have to do the content. Like,
I want to take it back. I don't want to go too into that because we didn't really finish talking about what you were talking about.
yeah, we can pull it back.
I just want to say that like a story I want to relate is like, you know, when I was on tour, I don't want to tell that story because it's people that I know personally in that story, but
you could always not use names.
If you're on tour and something happens where it's hard to make it to the next show, and say for example, you're in Europe, your tour van breaks down, and now you have to get a new tour van, but this one is a stick shift. Nobody in the group can drive a stick shift tour van, so it's the decision is made that people are going to learn how to drive stick on the Autobahn in Germany, because the show must go on. Well, guess what? If you fucking wreck that car and the fucking girl selling merch fucking dies in a car accident, and now you got to tell her mom, hey, the reason that your daughter died is because the show must go on, and we were learning to drive stick shift on the Autobahn in Germany instead of canceling the show. I think that that's irresponsible. I think that there are certain things that are more important than the show. All the people that buy tickets, they're gonna get a fucking refund. You know, if they got a babysitter for that night, they'll get over it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that there are times where you need to, you know, and maybe you can apply this to your life, Mike. I appreciate it. It's funny because I'm the one that you're kind of like helping out with this. Your grandma died and you're still gonna be my DJ. You know what I'm saying? So like, I really do appreciate that, and I actually also totally understand the sentiment of getting lost in your work. But at the same time, there are certain times where, and I'm gonna be experiencing this now with my, like what I was saying earlier about like, is it more important that I go on tour and do a show in Kalamazoo, or is it more important that like I might miss my daughter's fucking first steps? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like these kinds of like, if these kinds of putting two things on the scale and deciding which one is heavier with importance it's impossible, you know. But you make these decisions, and it's like I'm right now the tour that I'm going on, where I'm going to be away from my daughter for 3 weeks, and me and my wife are fully in communication about all this stuff. Like, this is a test. You know, I might do this thing, and I might call my fucking manager or whoever, booking agent, whatever, after this, and be like, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. You know, I might decide that I don't want to be a touring musician anymore, but I don't think that's going to happen because of what I said before, where I actually put a lot of weight onto providing an example for my daughter of, like, you can do your dreams and do cool shit. And also, like, you know, like I told you, like, you know, I took the red eye to get here. I rent a car. I'm spending all this money on I'm like doing the math. I'm like, this isn't that much money. You know what I'm saying? But then I finally get to the thing the show last night. And it's just like, it's doing the show itself reminds me, like, oh yeah, I love this. This is like my favorite shit to do in the world. So I think that I'll be continually reminded of that. And if I can find a middle ground, you know, like, I'm not going to do fucking 2 months in a row of touring again. You know what I'm saying? Until, like, if I'm still touring in 20 years when my daughter's in college, which that'd be a fucking miracle, you know, because I'm already old. But if I'm still doing it then, it's one thing. But, like, you know, you can adjust your schedule so, like, you don't miss too much. You know what I'm saying?
And I think it's a balance.
It's tough, dude. I know people that do it, and it's tough, man.
And it's a balance too, because, you know, it's not even just so much the shows itself. It's like, you know, even with, like, when you're going through any life stuff, whether, you know, for me, like the loss, like you with your daughter, like, you still need to keep it pushing and, like, provide, you know. But I also, like, you need to give yourself the time to, like, feel your feelings and go through it. But, like, even this, like, even with the show and everything, like, you know, with that, my grandmother passing yesterday, I was already in a whirlwind because I'm moving this weekend. You know what I mean? So I'm like, you know, I'm mid packing up my stuff. I was like, so in my head, I'm like, you know, the show is probably going to be my only moment of, like, you know, I enjoy being up there. It's, like, peaceful. Like, it brings me joy. So I'm like, let me take a moment out of all this stress that I'm feeling right now with everything that's happening in life between the move, my grandmother, and just the million other things I got to get done. And let's go rock this show with my boy Wax. You know what I mean? So it's, like, almost more like it's giving myself, like, a little breather from it for the hour-long set or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Because when you're up there, I'm not thinking about it.
Of course.
You know, so
what does that look like for you when you say, like, what does it look like to feel, like, if you took out time to just feel the grief, what does that look like?
I mean, I've had to do this year. So it's funny. I've talked about this a little. Actually, I don't know how much with my friends I've talked about this. Like, I've had, like, 3 back-to-back years of what I call strength, right? So 2022 was my mental strength year. I, like, you know, there was a lot that I had to go through, and, like, I had to mentally get stronger. Like, last year was physical, right? So I got in the gym, I was eating healthier, like, I really focused. This year I've been thrown in the whirlwind of emotional strength, dude. It's been tough, dude, because it's like, you know, I lost my grandfather this year too.
Were they on both?
No, I lost my dad's mom and my mom's dad. And my mom's dad was a little bit worse though, because we weren't in communication. You know what I mean? So, like, there are feelings of, like, that lost relationship that, like, you know,
I know exactly what you mean.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
because you'll never get it back.
Exactly, dude. And, like, I'm a very hopeful person, and, like, even with any of my, and, like, there are other, like, on top of that, like, you know, friendships that I've, like, lost, and I've just had an emotional year. So I've, like, really had to address a lot of my emotions this year. And even, like, you know, so take all these, like, real life things that I've been dealing with, and then pile on the biggest project I've taken on in my entire life. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, earlier this year, I had a major lull, dude, and this is what this looks like, getting back to your question. Like, so what does it look? It looks like me just realizing that I got to give myself time. I, like, need to take a breather and feel my feelings and go through it, process it, because, you know, if I'm hammering the nail constantly and I'm not addressing these emotions, not addressing the loss, not addressing it, I'm going to break. You know what I mean? I'm a person too. I'm going to break. And, you know, I do, and it's fucked up because, like, especially with losing my grandma yesterday, in my head, I'm like, I'll grieve her this week after I move. You know what I mean? Like, that's like a fucked up thought, but it's like, I can't push back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's an argument that I could push back, but it's just like everything's in motion. It's going to be worse for me to reschedule everything than to just push through and give myself a little bit of a breather. So sometimes you just got to do what you got to do and that's when life doesn't stop is the point I'm trying to get. So
it's also like, my experience with grief, and I've been pretty lucky. Like I haven't had a ton of, I mean, my grandparents are all gone, but that was a long time ago when I was a kid, you know. But I feel like you can't really predict how you're going to be affected with grief, and I find it comes in like weird little waves. It'll just hit you at times, and sometimes right after a person passes, you don't really feel it. You know what I'm saying? Or like you might feel it in a way where like you feel an obligation to do something. You might feel like you might feel like you owe some service or something like that, you know? Or I don't know. My point is like you can't really predict how you're going to feel it. And even if you were like, okay, well, next Thursday I'm going to be sad. Yeah. You're not going to like wake up next Thursday and be like, now it's time to be sad and like be sad, you know? It's going to hit like we might be like on the way to Boston tomorrow. You just like it just hits you. You know what I'm saying? Or like you might be just sitting around by yourself and some thought of something of like some memories you have with your grandma when you were a kid or something goes through your body and you just like you said break, you know? Yeah, and it like I think it's like it is like I guess for lack of a better like triggers, you know what I mean? Where it's like and they're like I think I feel it the most when they're absent is felt where it's like, oh, I would have been doing this with you right now had you still been here. You know what I mean? Like, you know, oh, that's where grandma used to sit. Oh, that's where, you know what I mean? So it's like moments like that, I guess, is where I end up feeling the most. It's like stupid things. Like my grandma had the craziest sweet tooth of all time, dude. Like even this last week when I knew like she was checking out, I was calling my dad who was with her. And he's like, yeah, she's not eating much, but she had ice cream for breakfast. And I was like, oh, that's the most guagua thing. Yeah, that's what we called her. That's the most guagua thing I've ever heard. So it's like, you know, like there's like little things too where it's like, you know, just appreciating the little that's the thing too. When you appreciate the little details about people, sometimes when you see those details in like other people where it's like, you know, if I see someone with a sweet tooth, you know, I'm thinking of my grandmother because I'm like, oh, she's craziest sweet tooth of all time. You know what I mean? So dang, dude, I mean, like you got me thinking about my grandmother. My grandmother had a sweet tooth too. My dad's mom, she was she always drank root beer. That was her thing. She always drank root beer. But yeah, back then they didn't think about diabetes and shit.
Yeah, no, but it's like she wouldn't like my grandma was mad cute in the sense of like, you know, we'd finish dinner and she'd be the first one like dessert. You know what I mean? Like what's for dessert? You know what I mean? So I don't know. And it's like the thing about grief too, like everyone kind of deals with it in their own way, and it's gotta be like it's a hard thing to deal with, and it's like one thing it's pretty much guaranteed in life at some point. You know what I mean? Unless you're, you know, knock on wood, unless you're the person that goes. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna deal with grief.
If you die before anybody else you've ever known dies.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
but that's the thing about grief too. Like you said, it's like you not only is it difficult to deal with, but you don't really know how you're gonna deal with it. You know what I mean?
And it does come in
waves.
And
people think like, you know, people think that there's an assumed way you're gonna deal with it, and then there's a way you actually deal with it. You know?
Yeah.
You know. There's a lot of people who like their kid dies, and then within the first few days they find themselves laughing a lot, you know, and people think that's crazy. Yeah. But it's actually kind of like a weird natural response, and there's really a thin line between laughing and crying. You know?
Yeah, I know a lot of people that like, I mean, typically not death, but like in certain tragedies, I kind of laugh it off sometimes because like sometimes it's just so ridiculous. Typically not death, but it's like if like. Nothing where someone gets hurt, but like I guess it's stupid things. You know what I mean? It's like,
but I think even with death, some people almost think like this is so crazy and so painful that I can't believe this happened. This is almost absurd that God would allow this, and it makes people kind of laugh hysterically sometimes.
Yeah. But this kind of brings me back even to your song, dude. It's You, where it's like,
yeah, it's brilliant. It was brilliant. Did you see the discussion it provoked?
Yeah, dude. But that's what I'm saying. Like, because someone said to me, they're like, all of this, because I told you about my emotional, like, strength journey that I'm on right now, and it's like, yo, the universe is testing you, and I'm like, yo, I don't really believe that. Like who's testing me right now? You know what I mean? Like, I just believe that reality is just tough right now, and it's like, this is just what, at some point, it's just part of the journey that you got to go through,
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, the thing about the universe testing you, like, or if God's throwing shit at you or whatever, maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know, but my song is about like people that are doing shit themselves that blame it on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's also like not that serious of a song. It's actually the only song on here that's a little bit more like comic relief in a way.
Yeah.
Shit is fire though. It's kind of like has like it sounds like a I don't want to say an old Michael Jackson song because it gives that's kind of arrogant sounding, but it kind of sounds like an old Michael Jackson song. Yeah. We got Max Miller-Lauren playing horns on a bunch. He's playing trumpet on a bunch of this.
I noticed when
I got my boy Mono Neon playing bass on one of the songs. I got Camila Recchio, who we both know sings some background vocals all over here. But there's no features. There's no like rap features. It's like all like shit I have to say. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's cool too, because like, do you feel like you're really like telling your story and the substance is a lot stronger because it's like mostly all you?
Well, it's interesting. I don't feel like I'm telling my story. I mean, some of it is my story, you know, but I feel like it's more. I guess now that I think about it, I am kind of telling my story a little bit, but it's almost more like, here's my story and here's what I've learned from it. You know what I'm saying? Well, I guess it is my story. I guess it is. I guess that is a lot of this stuff is. Yeah, it is, I guess.
Well, this kind of brings me into my next thing, too, because, talking about things that you've learned, like, what's the best advice that you've ever been given?
The best advice that I've ever been given? Probably something that's really, really, really cliche. You know what I'm saying?
It works, though, and if it works for you, it works,
Best advice I've ever given? Wait, did you say that I've ever given or been given?
Been given.
I mean, Mike, I don't have that logged in my fucking brain. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Best advice.
I don't like have that logged. You know what I'm saying? Like, but if I had to think of something that somebody told me that stuck with me, I can't think of something off top. But my old manager, who I kind of like, the guy that said don't do the Raymond Johnson thing, whatever. He used to always give me good advice. He had a lot of just like good quotes. Just dumb shit like, like this like an old pimp thing. Like, if you're always ready, you never got to get ready.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
dumb, stay ready.
Yeah.
You know who told me that, dude, actually?
Sugar Free, the rapper?
No, I was in a laundromat in some city on tour, and I was just doing laundry, and this dude, like, we just started talking, and he said that to me. That was the first time I ever heard that, dude. He's like, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
His name
it's great advice. I don't take it at all. I go outside with my fucking pajamas on, whatever. I don't give,
I live by that rule, dude.
Really?
So that, I could, like, if you told me I had to do something right now, I probably would be able to do it just because of how much I stay ready.
It's good advice for musicians, too. I used to be such a drunk, and I would spend so much time drinking that I didn't just like I have a million songs that I can play on my acoustic guitar, my own songs. And like back then, I'd only really be like, if we sat down and you're like, play me some songs, I only really would have had probably 3 of them ready, like that I could actually play and remember the chords or remember the lyrics. Like, if you ask me now, I could probably play fucking 40 of them. You know what I'm saying? Like that. And you should be ready. You should, at certain times, like, you never know when somebody's going to hand you a guitar and say, play me something, you know?
Yeah. No, and I think it's important, too, because, like, I just think, like, you're basically optimizing your opportunities because, like, things come and go, you know what I mean? And it's like, if a tour opportunity came, like, and it was like, I've seen it happen a couple of times to homies where they're like, yo, our opener dropped out. Can you come out to the show in 2 days? You know what I mean? And, like, I've seen people get on the tour that way, too, and just because they stayed ready, like, it's worked out for them. But, like, there's kind of, like, an art to it. And, like, I could imagine that being harder, though, when you have, like, the responsibility, too, of, like, a family, too. You know what I mean? So it's, like, and I guess it's all situational because the whole thing is a balance. Like, even with that, because it's, like, going on tour, it's, like, it takes time from you being away, but simultaneously you're able to provide more and, you know, guarantee a better life for your daughter and family. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't not. So you just got to figure out the balance, right? Because
Right.
can't not do it, like, because this is where the money comes from. But you know what I mean? But when I get the money, am I missing the moments? You know what I mean? So it's
yeah, exactly. I'm still thinking about, like, you just asked me the best advice I've ever given. Like, I'll probably be thinking about that question for the next couple of days. Because that makes me think of, like, all these little kind of cliche things, like stop and smell the roses. That's kind of the best advice. Kind of the best advice is to enjoy the little things and stop and smell the roses. And even the thing I said earlier about the journey is more important than the destination.
Yeah.
You know, like, you say it corny because it's always said corny, but the reason people say it is because it's true.
It's so
you know?
true, dude. And the thing is, like, sometimes you get to the destination and, like,
it's not what you thought it was.
Not what you thought it was. You look around and you're like, oh my God. Like, a lot of the time you end up at the destination by yourself too. You know what I mean? So it's like all the people.
I talk about a lot of that I cover some of that stuff on the album, but not to keep bringing it back to my album, but you should buy it.
No, dude. They should, dude.
You should buy it.
And I'm gonna start winding this down, dude. What's the worst advice you've ever gotten?
Get rich or die trying.
What? Why do you say that?
Because I'm not trying to die.
That's true.
I'm not trying to die. But I didn't say this before, but it's easy for me to say because I didn't grow up poor. You know?
Yeah.
I think get rich or die trying is a mentality that we have in America or anywhere where it's like, let's assume that you're in a place of desperation. You know what I'm saying? So if you grew up in like a middle class kind of we have what we need thing, it sounds silly to want to die. Die?
Oh, it's the worst of the worst thing. Like, yeah, no. The thing too is, like, I also sometimes feel that people, maybe myself included, like, don't realize how fragile this whole thing is.
This goes along with the worst advice thing. There's not a lot that I would die for. Yeah, my family's about it. Like, this might be relatively controversial, but even the concept of, like, dying for your country, you know what I'm saying? Like, this country is made up. It's a made up thing that if you were alive 600 years ago, it wouldn't even fucking exist. Would you die for it then if you happened to have been born 600 years ago? I wouldn't. Dude. I'm not dying for any fucking made up idea that just somebody created. You know what I'm saying? Country, God, whatever it is. I'm not dying for it. Because you only get one of these fucking things. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Maybe that's selfish. I don't know. But
no,
I'm not
I feel you, dude, because, and, you know, I respect anybody who makes, you know, whatever play they make with their life and, like, you know.
And I don't mean it as a disrespect to somebody that feels differently, but I'm not doing it.
But I'm just doing it to preface what I'm about to say, because when I was in school, my guidance counselor, keep in mind, I was doing videos. I was always the artsy creative kid.
Right.
My guidance counselor was always pushing the military on me, though. And I was like, you know, in hindsight, I'm like the least militant person I know. Like, Sergeant Squire sounds crazy to me.
Sounds ill, though.
It does, dude. Yeah. Like, and I mean, maybe there's a world where I'm like, you know, 10 hut. You know what I mean? Like, but I think there's good things, like, you know, the discipline, but, like, I don't know. To me, like, to risk it, like, you know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like my purpose is different. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's where I'm best suited to, and, you know, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to say with it, you know?
You're trying to say it without offending people.
I'm trying to say it without...
You're trying to say it without offending people that made that choice for themselves, which I don't think that they would take it offensively. You know what I'm saying? I would never make that decision for myself to be in the military, especially because this could go into a whole different place. You said you're trying to wrap up this thing, but, like, it's natural as humans that we kind of, like, you know, like, violent behavior is heroic. Like, even in the most gentle of Disney movies, the male heroic prince character is always like a warrior with a sword that kills people.
Slaying
you know what I'm saying?
Dragon, the bad guy. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, and you know, if you look at, like, the chimps, our closest relatives, they're violent as well. And humans have always been tribal and violent and wars and killing each other and everything. So that's kind of natural. And I see that it's natural in humanity to think that war and fighting is good, not only good but heroic. But me personally, maybe this I feel like I feel like violence is bad. I feel like war is wrong, and I feel like the fact that we all have to have militaries is fucking insane. But I realize that I'm in the minority. You know what I'm saying? So that wouldn't be a choice that I would make for myself, especially considering the fact that you only get one life to live, and like I said before, dying for this idea that wouldn't have even existed.
Yeah.
Before, you know what I'm saying? America is an idea that doesn't care about you. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not and what if I was born in Canada now? I just happen to be here, and this is coming from the mind of somebody. I'm adopted.
A couple
right?
miles from the line in the dirt. Dude.
Yeah, I'm adopted. I could have easily been in Cuba. I could have been in Ireland. Who knows? Like, just because I'm born here, this is something I'm going to die for. If I was born in Russia during the Cold War, I would have died for that idealism. I'm not doing it. You know what I'm saying? Especially because, like I said, I think it's really, really sad and tragic that we feel like we have to kill strangers for ideas. I think that's fucking sad and tragic. But
yeah, dude. Anything.
But I might just be a pussy. I might be a pussy. Everybody else thinks you gotta fucking fight and kill everybody to not be a pussy. I might be a pussy.
Like that, and I think that's where I go. Is like I'm a very peaceful person.
Me too.
You know,
that's why we get along.
That's like very on the peace. So it's like I couldn't thrive in an environment because then that's where I'm like, what am I doing here? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I couldn't even my moral compass, and I'm very proud and I'm stoked with how my mom raised me, but my moral compass is if I do any wrong, because then you start riding the line of like what's right and what's wrong. You know what I mean? It's like, is it okay to do that? And like for me, my moral compass would keep me up all night, dude. I can't do any. It's a gift and a curse. I can do no bad, at least from my interpretation of doing no bad, because it eats at me, dude. And like there have been things I've done for people that I don't like just because I know it would be good for them. But at the end of the day, it's more for me because it's like if I know that I didn't make a good play on someone else's behalf and I knew the information and had that information, it would eat me because then I made the choice to not do a good thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then that makes me doing a bad thing. So I got I got a good moral compass, but it's double-edged sword where it's like it really bothers me if I do something wrong.
What you're saying is like having good morals inherently comes along with guilt.
Yeah,
because
dude.
Guilt is what makes you so you don't do anything bad.
Dude,
know?
I have so much guilt, dude. Like I can't. And
people that do bad shit don't give a fuck.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and the thing too,
they don't have guilt.
I'm like the first, and for me, dude, like if I do something that because I mess up, I'm a person. I'm also the first person to make the phone call and be like, yo, this. You know what? I'll give you a quick example before we get out of here. I got one more question for you. But there was recently a show I did, and there was an expectation for me to sell X amount of tickets. Didn't hit that number. And I also didn't give them a great heads up either. But so as we're there, I kind of just addressed, they were upset with me. But I was like, guys, I just had to address it head on. One, I feel terrible about what I did. I wish I could have sold more tickets for this thing. It's 100% my bad, and just and you know what I ended up doing? I actually ended up buying a shit ton of tickets, on my own, just for all my guests that were coming too. Because I had a guest list, but I was like, yo, let me just buy everybody tickets.
I would have guessed that that's what you would have
yeah,
done. I would have probably done the same thing.
Yeah, and it's just does it make what I did right? Not necessarily, but does it soften the blow? Yes. You know what I mean? And then, when you have true friendships and relationships with people, they know I got them on the next thing. You know what I mean? And if they need something from me, they can rely on me for the most part, I guess, unless it's that one show instance. But sometimes life gets out of your hands is what I'm trying to say.
Well, some people don't have that kind of guilt. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But the guilt can go. It's funny because the guilt can go another way. Religion uses guilt in a weird way to, try to get you to think everything is bad, or things that aren't necessarily bad are bad.
Yeah.
But selling tickets.
It's really not that bad in the worst.
But not everybody gives a fuck. You know what I'm saying? At least you tried to, like you said, soften the blow.
Yeah, and I'm a big if I say I'm gonna do well, this is oh man, I'm bringing up another point too, but I like this too. But I'm a big, if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. But with that being said, I've also gotten incredibly great at telling people no. You know what I mean? Like, I've been very good at telling people no. And I really enjoy telling people no, actually, now, because what I find is how people receive the no that I give them kind of tells a lot about them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, for example, you know, someone asked me to come do, like, their event, and I just was like, no, like, I'm just not going to have time with everything I got going on. And then they left me on red. You know what I mean? And, like, didn't respond after, didn't hear from them. And I'm like, yo, like, now I just feel like you're using me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but had they have just been like, no worries, like, I still would love to connect on something, or like, you know, just keep me in the loop, or like even just how people receive no's is just very telling, is what I'm trying to say.
That's true.
Know?
That's true.
Yeah. Wax, what's your message to the world?
My message to the world.
Yeah, dude. Well, you know what? I don't know if I
don't have an optimistic message to the world.
But it could be pessimistic.
My general pessimism about just humanity in general, it kind of goes along with what I was saying about war. And it's kind of like the older I get, the more I realize, like, oh, we're just fucked up and inherently flawed, and there's really not much that I can do about it. Like, you know, whereas that's why people that are activists are generally young, because once you get older and older, you're just like, I can't fucking solve all these problems. In fact, I'm actually better off spending all the extra time I have in my world that I can feel love and joy and see beautiful things in life. It's like, actually, so you're gonna go, like, you know, you're gonna go try to solve some problem, and then there's gonna be an even worse problem that some other evil motherfucker.
There's endless problems. They're always,
and all the people that run the world are the evil people, because they're the people that are power hungry and crazy. You know, like,
who do you think's fueling the hate, dude?
All the
dudes at the top.
Yeah, so all the people that are cool and nice become like librarians, school teachers, nurse, veterinarians. They work for the Red Cross. They do all the volunteer work. They work at a soup kitchen. They work at a homeless shelter. The people that want power, they work at the bank. They work in the stock market. They do politics. You know what I'm saying? So they're naturally going to get all the power. You know, if everybody that worked at that joined the Peace Corps was in the Senate and shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, man. I just don't have an optimistic view of humanity in general, and it was fueled even further by the fact that I just watched that Chimp Empire show, and like they're like our closest living relatives. They share like 99% of our DNA or whatever, and they're just they're just naturally warlike and kill each other whenever they see each other. I'm just like, okay, well, that's just how we are. Maybe I don't know why I mean, that's not. I'm not trying to act like I'm above it.
Yeah.
Because I fucking feel anger and rage. Sometimes it makes me go like, oh, I could kill the fuck out of somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have the fucking, like, I could be transformed into a fucking somebody that would kill somebody.
I think
I'm sure
everybody could be under the right circumstances.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, you know, I see me as somebody who's like, no, I can never be that. But, like, if you came at my family in a crazy way, you know what I mean? Like, I would turn into that, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
You know
I don't want to make it sound like I'm above the rest of humanity.
Yeah.
I'm a human being too. But my message to the world is this album contains the message that I want to get out to the world. So you should buy it.
Let's go, dude. Lifetime Achievement Award.
There actually is a lot of messages in this. One message I would say is and I think this is another very simple cliche message that I think is important for people to hear is it will get better. If you're experiencing a very difficult time or a very difficult heartbreak, that whole shit where they say, what's the fucking the cliche expression is this too shall pass.
Yeah.
You know? And time heals everything. Like that girl that you're fucking ruminating about, and like you're trying to fucking, you know, you're looking at her Instagram every day. You're wondering if she's with another guy. You're fucking sad and like you're heartbroken about this girl, and like, is she gonna text me? Should I call her? Like, you just broke up, and it's fucking. And you're sad, and you can't stop thinking about this motherfucker. A couple years down the line, you'll go, I don't care about her at all. I don't care if she's sucking somebody's dick right now. Who cares? I hope she is. I hope she's doing well. You know what I'm saying? Like, time actually does heal heartbreak. That's one of my messages on here. And the other message is don't get too wrapped up in like the idea of achievement, the idea that like winning awards will make you a better person or make you feel happier. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just telling your boy, like I still do music because I really, really like it. Like if I was like worried about the accolades and the awards and like the numbers, I would have given up. You know what I'm saying? Because it's getting worse. You know what I'm saying? And I love it even more. I love doing it even more, and all my numbers are getting worse. You know what I'm saying? So, selling less and less tickets, getting less and less streams, and I love it more and more and more. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to fix that problem, but if I'm keeping a good attitude about it because I really like making this album was fun. Doing this photo shoot was fun. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and things can change so quickly, dude. All of this music and everything, it stops and goes down. That's really the second you do. As long as you're kind of like still hammering the nail, like there's opportunities and moments where something can change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, and not. I know you keep wanting to end the podcast, but you know what's interesting about doing music or doing art or even like just owning your own business is like you can't force other people to care. That's the hardest thing about doing music is this idea where like you how many tickets are you selling? How many streams are you getting? It's like that means how much do other people care, right? So you can't force people to care. And that's like I think on the last podcast we talked about this where like a lot of artists will get mad that nobody's supporting them. You know what I'm saying? You get mad that nobody's supporting you, but guess what? You're not a fucking charity.
Nobody owes it to you.
You're not a charity. If you, like McDonald's doesn't go, nobody's supporting Big Macs. People want to eat them shits. You know what I mean? So you got to make something that people want to eat. And even if you make something great, there are restaurants out there that had the best goddamn food that you've ever had and it went out of business. You know, life is fucking sad. And you have to try to somehow by a miraculous work from God, keep a good attitude.
It'll get you further than most things, dude. Staying positive, dude.
Very hard to do.
Yeah.
Very hard. It's I'm a pessimistic person by nature, but somehow it's humor that keeps me positive.
Yeah.
Just realizing that the whole shit is funny is the only thing that gets me by, you know?
Well, Wax, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast, dude. If people want to find you, how can they find you, dude?
Wax.com, waxdotcom.com is my website where you can check out all my tour dates and see some dumb bio about me. I think it's still on there that I haven't read in 5 years. At Big Wax is my Instagram. At Big Wax with 2 X's is my TikTok because I guess somebody already had Big Wax. I have Facebook and all that stuff too, but this album,
when does it come out?
I don't know when this podcast comes out, but the pre-order for this album will be in sometime in early October. You'll be able to go to bishoprecords.com.
It is available now.
You think so?
It's available now.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be. The vinyl's gonna ship on November 11th.
Okay. Yeah. This podcast, your pre-order will be out while this podcast is coming out. You know what I mean? So it'll be live.
You can pre-order this album at Bishop. You can order this album at bishoprecords.com and it'll ship on November 11th, which also on November 11th you will get the digital copy of the album. But dude, the physicality of it is what's so dope about it. You know what I'm saying?
It is really cool,
and
dude.
There's gonna be, if you want, you can get I'm gonna have a signed insert, like a photo, like a glossy photo
cool,
too. Like I said, it's another album. And if you wanna when my record players drop, if you buy a record player, you'll get this free. Awesome. But if you already bought the record, when you buy the record player, there'll be a discount based on your email address. That's
cool.
If you already bought the record, it'll be like you got the record for free. You know what I'm saying? So don't wait to buy the record player with the free record. Buy the record, then if you want the record player, you'll get the money off.
That's
you
a
know
beautiful
what I'm saying?
thing, dude.
We out here, dude.
Let's go, dude. Well, I'm excited. You got a tour coming up. You got a lot of stuff's going on, dude.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on, dude.
I appreciate you having me, Mike.
Let's go, dude.